research. You've talked about the support of new businesses, particularly in the clean energy sector. As we discuss those things, I keep thinking about what is happening, I think very unfortunately, in this debate. It's a political year, and we've got our elections. We have the election of the President and the Senate. All of those things are up, and so we take issues, and we may take a specific problem and drive that problem to the point of destroying other good programs that are underway. This is happening right now. The Solyndra case. 3 times on the floor today I heard the word Solyndra come up. This was a problem. This was a company that was supported by a loan guarantee, and it failed. It largely failed because of China's policy of dumping onto the American market underpriced solar cells. That's why the company failed. Now, we have the opportunity to deal with this, but before I get to how we can deal with that China problem, I want to just ask my Republican colleagues to be very, very careful as they drive this political issue, because they may succeed in making this a big political issue for this country, but by doing so they may cause America to turn its attention away from renewable energy. The very issue you raised, Mr. Tonko, we have to have energy security, and renewable energy of all kinds is going to be part of that. So we must be very careful. Whatever political advantage there may be to the Solyndra case, be aware, America, that underlying this is an extremely important policy in the United States to achieve energy independence, to free ourselves from the slavery of the oil barons and dictators around the world, so that we can have a secure energy system in the United States. It will, by necessity, involve renewable energy. Solyndra is a problem. Making it into a political problem, okay, but don't turn Americans' view and hopes away from the renewable, clean energy sector. It is vital, and we have to have policies in place to support that, just as we have supported the oil industry for more than a century. Put that same support behind the batteries that you talked about, Mr. Tonko. Put that same support behind the biofuel industry. Put that same support behind the solar and wind, and also the smart grid. Right now in my district, Lawrence Livermore Labs is looking at developing a research program on how to integrate these renewable and variable energy systems into the grid so that they all mesh and provide the energy that is needed by America as it changes hour by hour across the United States. A very, very important research project. All of these things come back to government policy and support. So we must be very careful about that. I do want to take up the China currency issue and the dumping of, in this case, solar cells on the American market. Would you like to start that discussion, Mr. Tonko?
Well, you know, just on the grid thing, I would like to make a comment, because sometimes it's like we're challenged so that we can walk away from the challenge of the moment, and it's not the best thing for us. In 2003, this nation witnessed the blackout from Ohio right through southern Canada into the great Northeast, New England, New York, and some of the eastern seacoast, all driven by failure in the grid system. Now, never in that year that elapsed was there much discussion about public policy, and that was a presidential year that befell the nation, and it just does not get talked up. Now, finally, historic amounts of investment through the Recovery Act were made in the grid system, and challenging us to step it up, do what's required to use state-of-the-art opportunities for smart grid, smart thermostats, smart meters, enabling people to have more control, more destiny over their energy usage, over their energy bills, making certain that, again, we pour ourselves into an investment of a unique type, an historic investment that enables us to go forward with the sorts of responses that we need. We need the arteries and veins, the transmission and distribution system to wheel the electrons to the workplace, the home place, as it's required. And in New York, again, in our bordering of Canada, if we want to import hydropower from another nation, and wheeling now, you know, we've moved well beyond the monopoly setting where you had regional situations. Now you wheel from region to region, state to state, nation to nation. We need upgrades in the system just to transport the electrons that are required. It's not if we're going to do it, it's when we're going to do it. And the chance that we have right now is to move us forward in a way that strengthens this economy, cuts energy costs, provides for more wise use of those energy supplies, enables us to produce the energy ideas, if it's alternative technology or energy efficiency or what have you. But this nation is replete with a history of invention that has come through very thoughtful application of what is needed out there by society. And for us to have walked away from those challenges is unacceptable. And that's what the grid is telling us right now. You know, you can lay back and say, hey, you don't need an upgraded train system, you don't need an upgraded grid system, you don't need broadband, you don't need all of this technology, you don't need the investment in R&D. Well, that complacency or the content that people might feel, the contentment that people might feel with status quo, it will get us nowhere. In fact, it will push us farther behind as nations bulk up, invest, and stretch their opportunities simply by committing to a progressive agenda. And that's what we call for here to reignite the American dream.
Well, that American dream is going to be held back by unfair trade policies that are seriously harming the American economy. Early on, I put this find it in a moment. Early on, I put this up. I don't know that you were here at the time. This is the American trade deficit. Much of this deficit is a deficit in trade with China. A lot of that deficit is caused by Chinese currency manipulation. The Chinese currency is undervalued somewhere around 20 to 25, maybe 27%, which gives their manufacturing sector a 20–25% advantage because of the currency manipulation. A year
Representative
ago,
Garamendi,
yes,
would you yield
yes,
to a point? I believe I saw earlier a chart that you had on manufacturing jobs.
yes.
Could you just like put that one up on the easel over that pattern there and point to the 97 to 2009 curve, and it's a startling mimicking. Those two graphs absolutely mimic each other. And I think you can draw a correlation there that deals with the loss of manufacturing jobs as it relates to the trade deficit. And I think that is something that ought to guide our discussions, guide our policy development, and actually address the sort of response we need in terms of job creation, job retention.
Thank you. I really hadn't noticed.